I'm the Research Project Manager for EJS ACT-PD. So this is a project that's run by the University College London and University of Plymouth. But we have lots of different people and organisations involved, a few of which are on this call. So we have Professor Tony Shapiro involved, Cure Parkinson's and Romy as well as part of our core team. So we've got lots of different organisations involved in this project. And I'm just going to give you a bit of an overview of what we're trying to achieve. So what is EJS ACT-PD? So the Edmund J. Sufferer Accelerating Clinical Trials in Parkinson's Disease Initiative, or EJS ACT-PD for short, is a really exciting initiative that's been set up with the aim to revolutionise how we run clinical trials in Parkinson's. So we've set up a large consortium of expert members from across the UK, which includes people with Parkinson's and their carers, and they've all come together because we're all passionate about advancing the delivery of effective Parkinson's treatments. So what we really want to do is improve the efficiency of how we run clinical trials in Parkinson's and speed up how we find answers. And we're focused in this project on potential disease-modifying therapies. So what we mean by that is any treatments that have the potential to slow or stop Parkinson's progression. So how do we plan to transform clinical trials? So you can see here on the screen what a typical clinical trial design might look like. So to start with, you'll have the initial setup process where you'll design the trial, apply for funding, apply for your ethical approvals, get all of your sites on board and trained and ready to open. And then once you're open and are recruiting participants, you'll typically have one placebo arm being compared to one treatment. And so you might run the trial for a couple of years, and once the trial ends, you'll analyse that data, report the results. They might be positive or negative, and if you decide to proceed with another clinical trial, either to do further exploration on a positive result or to look at a new potential treatment, you have to go back and restart that setup process all again. So within this time period, you've only received answers about one potential treatment. And so we want to change that. We want to speed up this process. And the way we plan to do that is by setting up a multi-arm, multi-stage clinical trial design. And so this slide is a little bit more complicated, as you can see. You still have that initial setup process, which is quite a complex process for this type of design. But then once you open the trial, you have one placebo arm, but you're testing that against multiple different treatments all at once, all within the same trial. And that's the multi-arm element. And then as you're running the trial at specific time points earlier on in the trial, you can have a look at the treatments to see how they're doing and whether they seem to be effective. Any treatments that don't appear to be effective can be removed from the trial and replaced with a new treatment. So you can see in this example, treatments 2 and 3 were explored at around 18 months and they were deemed to be ineffective. So they were taken out of the trial and replaced by treatments 4 and 5. And that's the multi-stage element of the design. So as you're going through the trial, it gives you an opportunity to test multiple different treatments, get answers about multiple different treatments, and you can do all of this within the same trial, which has major advantages in terms of costs, in terms of time. It also means we need a smaller percentage of participants to be on the placebo arm. And then at the end of the trial, you've been able to look at multiple different treatments without the need to end the trial and reset up everything for each new treatment that you have a look at. So there has been previous MAMS designs that have been very successful. So the STAMPEDE trial is a trial for prostate cancer. That's a hugely successful trial. They've already reported 3 practice-changing results, which means they've found 3 new types of treatments that they've introduced as standard of care that can improve treatment for people with prostate cancer. There's also the M&D SMART trial, which is set up for motor neuron disease, who've just recently completed their first analysis of the treatments to see if any need to be removed or if they can be continued. And there's also the Octopus trial, which has been set up for multiple sclerosis, which is opening to recruitment soon. So there's lots of success stories and about setting up MAMS trials, and we thought, why can't we do this in Parkinson's? And so we're taking the learning from all of these trials to apply it to EJS ACT-PD to try and set up the best possible trial for Parkinson's. So our consortium is a very large consortium which has grown over the past couple of years as we've been in this design stage. But the 6 boxes in the middle here represent 6 core working groups, and they've each been set up to focus on a specific element of the trial. So we have our trial design working group, who are focused on the overall design of the trial, our treatment selection working group, which is chaired by Professor Tony Shapiro, and they are choosing the most promising treatments to include in the trial that have potential for disease-modifying results. We have our outcome measures group, and they will be focused on selecting the assessments we'll include in the trial and ensuring they're meaningful to people with Parkinson's. We have our infrastructure working group, who are making sure that sites across the UK have the capabilities to open the trial and recruit participants. And we have our funding working group, who are responsible for securing funding for the trial and hopefully being able to sustain the trial over a long period of time so we can test as many treatments as possible. And then we also have our fantastic patient and public inclusion and engagement group, who are responsible for providing a patient and carer perspective on all of the trial decisions and discussions. And at the bottom there, you can see we also have a wider PPIE network as well, which I'll talk a little bit more about further on in the presentation. So just to highlight how important the patient and carer / partner involvement is in the trial. So as Rosie mentioned earlier, most people think of being involved in research as participating in a research trial, but there's actually lots of different ways to be involved. And one of those ways is to be involved at this early stage and to help design the trial. And that's really important because patient involvement at this stage makes sure we can design a trial that's acceptable and feasible and that people with Parkinson's actually want to take part in. So we have patient and carer members, either 2 or 3 members in all of our working groups. So they'll be present for all of the discussions and decisions that are made around the trial. And then they join together to form our patient and public involvement group, where they'll discuss the trial progress, raise any concerns, flag any issues that we need some further input on, and ensure that we're designing a trial that will work for people with Parkinson's. So we've used lots of different ways to include patient input into our trial decisions so far. So we of course have the feedback, concerns, questions and input from our PPIE working group members. We've also made use of the results of a Delphi survey, which is a series of questions on trial design in Parkinson's, and that was completed by both professionals and people with Parkinson's. And the brilliant rallying to the challenge survey that Rosie spoke to you about earlier has been really, really helpful as well in giving us an idea of the best way to set this up that works for the Parkinson's population. So a few different ways the input has been used in our decision so far is it's helped us to decide the overall length of the trial, the different assessments that we'll use, how we'll deliver the trial, and also how we communicate with participants to engage with them and support them whilst they're taking part in the trial. And another really important factor of the trial and of patient involvement in the trial design is inclusivity. So it's really important for us that we target groups that wouldn't normally get involved in research. So this includes diverse populations in Parkinson's, and there's a number of different reasons that this is really important to improve in research. One is that having a diverse population in a trial increases our understanding of how Parkinson's presents, how it progresses, and how it responds to treatment. And it also helps us further our understanding of any factors that are specific to different populations. So, for example, genetic variation, which has been explored with Frontline and Ambroxol. But most importantly, it's that research should be accessible for everyone who wants to be involved. And so we really want to set up a trial that's accessible and meaningful for everyone with Parkinson's. And so one of the ways we're trying to do this is we're setting up a community advisory panel. So this will include 8 to 10 individuals from diverse backgrounds with chronic health conditions who can provide us with perspectives from different ethnic and cultural backgrounds, different socioeconomic backgrounds, and different geographic locations. So this group will be set up to meet online every 3 to 6 months and provide us with guidance and help us to shape decisions around the accessibility of the trial. And they'll also be able to assist us with a communication strategy for how we target diverse populations and how we can build that engagement and support them to hopefully get involved in the trial when we open. So we're planning to launch the trial in June 2024. We're aiming for 1,600 participants, which is a large number of participants. So it's really crucial that we get the word out and we get people on board and design a trial that people want to take part in. We'll be aiming to open 40 to 50 sites across the UK. So we're hoping for a really wide geographical spread so that everyone that wants to take part will have a local site who's participating in the trial. And we're really trying to focus on a patient-focused trial, so making sure that it's inclusive, accessible and meaningful, and that participants who take part have a good experience whilst taking part and feel supported on their journey. So we do still have opportunities for people with Parkinson's or carers and partners to get involved at this time point. So we have our PPIE wider network, which I mentioned very briefly earlier. So our wider network is a group of people with Parkinson's or carers and partners who are there for us when we need some broader input on different topics. So essentially, our wider network have agreed to be contacted when we send out requests for input. And these requests for input will vary. We might send out a link for a brief survey. We might ask members to vote on something, or we might send out an invitation to take part in focus groups or interviews. There's absolutely no obligation to reply or respond and give us that input. But it's just a nice, fast way for us to get a larger amount of input on any topics that come up in the trial that our patient members think we need a bit of broader representation on. So if you would be interested in taking part in the wider network, you can find out more information about that on our website, and the application form is on there as well. And I've already discussed our community advisory panel. So applications for that close this week, I believe. But if you feel you'd be able to provide a diverse perspective and help us to make the trial more accessible, that would be fantastic. And again, the information for that is on our website. And the website's just here. It's www.EJSACT-PD.com. There's lots of really great information on there about our trial, our progress, our goals, who's involved. And there's also a contact us feature on there as well. So if you went through the website and had any questions or want any further information, you can contact us through there too. And you can also follow us. We're on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram if you want to keep updated with any notifications of how we're getting on. We post on there regularly, and you can also contact us on there as well. So if you do want to stay involved with how the trial is progressing, then you can drop us a follow on any of those social medias. Thank you.